Welcome back to the channel. This is NASA's Thread. On today's tutorial, we'll be learning how to make a notched collar shirt. This is a very detailed video on how to make a notched collar shirt. If it's something you're interested in, keep watching. If you're yet to subscribe to the channel, please do well to subscribe. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Let's get right into this. So I'm going to head to mark out a line for my starting point. From that point, I'm going to mark my shoulder to the chest and then to the full length of this where I want the shirt to end. I'm marking a length of 25 inches and I'll go in with my rule to just rule out those points which I just marked. So after doing that, I'm going to just label my lines. Okay. So we're starting off with drafting our back pattern, okay? Take note of that. Now you're going to mark half of your shoulder measurement on the shoulder line, that's the first line, and also on the chest line. Then you're going to connect the both of them together like so. So after that, we go on and mark a neck width of 3 inches for the back, and then a neck depth of 1 inch. And we just connect them together. Now we'll go over to this line here and we'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope and we just connect that to the neck width. So we're basically just drafting like a basic bodice. Okay, that's what we're doing here. Now I'm going to take my round hip measurement on the full length. So go ahead and take your round hip divided by 4 plus 1 inch extra at that full length point. Just go ahead and mark it. Also make the same measurement at the chest line and then you connect them together. So after that, I will just take the measurement I have around here. I'm going to get the midpoint of that measurement. I will make it mark at that point. Then I'll just go on with my rule to connect it to meet the measurement I have at the chest area to give me my armhole curve. Okay, so this is all for our back pattern. This is what it looks like. We'll just go ahead to cut it out. So I don't want my shirt to have any shape. That's why I just made that straight to the end. But if you're making this as a crop top, you want to like take the chest measurement and end it wherever you want to end it. So because this extends to the hip area, that was why I used the hip measurement instead. Okay, I hope you understand. So we have this for the back. I will just go ahead to label this the back pattern. For the front, I have my pattern paper. You want to ensure that you have this longer than what you had for the back and also wider. So from the top, I came down by 6 inches and I made a mark. Then from this end here, I'll go in by 3 inches. I'm going to mark that to the full length of my paper and I'll connect them together. All right, so this line we have here now is going to serve as the shoulder line. That is where our vertical measurements will start from. So go on and take your shoulder to the chest point and then to your full length. After that, you just make horizontal lines at those points which you marked. Okay, so we have the chest line and then the length just like we had for the back. Now from the shoulder area, go in and mark half of your shoulder measurement. So your measurement, your horizontal measurement is going to start from the line you have there, okay? After that 3 inches point you marked, that's where you're going to start there. And then we mark a neck width of 3 inches. So whatever you use for the back for your neck width needs to align with that of the front. And then we are also going in with a neck depth of 3 inches. And I'll just connect it together. Okay, now on the arm area, the armhole depth, I'll go on and take 1 inch at that point for my shoulder slope and connect it to the neck width. So I'm going to take what I have here. So we're trying to get the armhole curve for the front. I just made that mark there. Now before going on to get my curve, I will also take my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch on the full length and also on the chest line, and I will connect it together. So like I said, whatever you have at the front needs to match with what you have at the back. Now at that point which I marked earlier, I'll come in by half of an inch and I'll connect it together to give me the front armhole curve. So now we have the basic borders for the front. Now we're going to be marking our button allowance. We'll be using a button allowance of 1 inch. So you can see where I'm starting my measurement from that neck area there. Just go ahead and mark 1 inch to your full length. Okay. After marking that, you want to connect the points you made together. So this is going to be for the buttons because we're going to be fixing buttons to this. So I'm just going to connect this to the neck, okay? Now we're going to determine the break point of this. So mine will be at the chest area. That's the break point of the shirt. And I just made a mark there. Now from the top of my shoulder, I'm going to make a slanted line to meet the end. Just watch how I'm marking this. So just place your straight rule and then make a line to meet that point like so. So that is it right there. Okay, now we're going to bring in our back pattern. We're going to take the measurement we have around this. So we need the measurement of the neckline of our back pattern. So after taking this measurement for mine, I had 3.5 inches. That is what we're going to be using to draft out the collar. Now from this point, we'll go up by that 3.5 inches. So whatever you get for yours, go up by that. Ensure that you're not marking this straight, okay? It should be slanted, as you can see what I'm doing there, okay? Now from that point, go in by 1/4 of an inch. This is to ensure that the collar is going to sit perfectly by the time you finish, and then connect that back to meet the shoulder line. Okay, so that means the first line we marked, it's not going to be important, like we're not using that. So after that, we're going to mark the width of our collar. So placing my tape also in a slanted form, I'm going to mark 3.5 inches for my collar width, and then I will connect it together to meet the line I had. Okay, now from this end, I'm going up by 1 inch, make a mark there, and I'll connect it to meet this point. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is to use our curve rule to just connect the other end of the collar like so. So you want to touch up any pointy edge you have around there. Okay, so this is what we have for the front piece of our shirt. I will just label this collar and then the front pattern. So this is what it is. Now we're going in with our scissors to just cut this out. So you want to be careful while cutting around the collar. You can see how I'm cutting this, so be careful while you're doing yours, okay? You don't want to spoil everything you've worked for. So just be careful with it, okay? So ensure to make like notch on the part of your collar that will be attached to the shirt. That's the part that was around the neckline. You ensure that you notch that part. Okay, it is important for you to notch that part because both ends of the collar will end up looking the same by the time you finish cutting out on your fabric. So ensure you notch that part that will be attached. So this is our front pattern and this is our collar. So by the time we finish stitching it down, it's going to have like this effect here, okay? And our collar is going to sit this way on top of it. So don't forget to make that notch. So I've gone ahead to cut it out on my fabric. This is my collar. I'm starting off with the collar. I cut this out on fold, okay, and then I added half of an inch all round. So remember that what we cut out on our pattern was just like one part. Okay, so you're going to cut it on fold for you to have a longer part so you can go around the neckline. And then on one piece, I ironed my hair stay to it. So I'm going to just keep this aside. Okay, now for the back pattern, I've gone ahead to also cut out my back piece. So for the back piece, I added half of an inch on the shoulder, on the neckline, and also on the side. So this is a shirt. It needs to be free on your body, okay? So that's why I added that ease allowance of half inch. Now for the front piece, I added half of an inch to the front, that's to the center front, to the shoulders, to the side, also to the neckline like I did for the back. Now for the front, we're going to have a facing for this. Okay, so I'm using the same fabric for my facing. I just cut out my facing separately, added half of an inch at the front, the neckline, and also at the shoulder. Now to get your facing, you just take the measurement you have around your shoulder. For me, I use 3 inches, okay, that's at the shoulder point. And then at the base, I used 4 inches at the base, and I just connected those marks together. So I didn't want to tamper with my original pattern. That was why I didn't cut this out on the pattern, like the pattern. I just made a different one. Now we're going to make a mark at the point where our collar is going to sit from. That's the point where our button allowance starts from. So I just made a notch there to indicate that point. It's important for you to note these things. Now we're going to start stitching our piece together. You want to align your facing to your main piece. Now note that I also ironed stay to the facing to make it more stable. Now I'll just spin around the neckline of this piece. I've placed my facing and the front piece to it. I just pin around that area. I'll go over to the machine and just stitch it by half of an inch downwards. Okay, so this is what it looks like after I finish stitching it. All right, so you can see what we have there. I've stitched it down. Now on this area here, on the neck area here, we're going to measure 1 inch. Remember what we added for the button allowance was 1 inch. You're going to measure that 1 inch again, right? And then you're going to stitch by half of an inch from the point where your half inch, the initial first stitch ends, to that 1 inch. So this is what it looks like. This is what I was trying to explain. I have this by 1 inch here. So this is what it looks like after I finish doing that. So what I'm going to do next now is to just make the cuts at that point where the stitching ends. Okay, that's 1 inch stitching where it ends, and just take off the excess at this edge like so. And then I will make notches around this area where I stitched before. I'm just going to notch that to the end so that it will be easy. It's going to be relaxed when I go over to iron this. So after doing that, I will turn this over to the right side, ensure that I bring out the edges properly, and then press it. So this is what it looks like after I finish ironing. So on this end here, that's for the facing, we're going to be folding in that part. So you're going to fold by 1/4 inch and then fold another 1/4 inch all through that. So this is what it looks like after I finish. You can see how neat this is coming out, okay? And I did the same thing for the other piece of my front. So the next thing we want to do is to join the shoulders together. We're going to bring in the back piece, place this the right side facing upwards, and then align our front piece to them, right side to right side. So you're going to be placing your front piece to the back piece, right side to right side. Now to stitch the shoulders, ensure that the shoulders of your interfacing is not interrupting, okay? So just going to stitch that off the main piece of your shirt, that's the front piece and the back piece together by half of an inch. So this is what it looks like after I finish stitching it. You can see that I have my facing separated. Now we'll go on to work on our collar. Now this is the collar piece. We have 2 pieces for this collar. So remember where I asked for you to notch initially. So ensure you also notch on the piece of your fabric also. So you're going to align your collar right side to right side together, and we're going to stitch it down. So we're going to use the pattern as a guide to stitch it down. So you're going to be placing your pattern around this and stitch it by half of an inch all around to the other end. And then the part where you have your notch, you're going to leave that open. You're not going to stitch that. So this is what it looks like after I finish doing that. So I'm also going to just make some marks notches around it so that it is easier for us to iron. I'll flip this over to the right side and go ahead and press it down properly. So this is what it looks like after I finish ironing. So I'm going to fold this into two and then get the midpoint of this collar. All right, then I will bring in my shirt piece and also get the midpoint of the neckline. Now we're going to be aligning the collar and the neckline of our shirts together. So you're going to be aligning the parts without the interfacing to it, okay? So just place it down like so, and then you're going to pin it down. So around this area, you want to watch properly on how to place this collar pattern on top of it. So while you're placing the collar on top of it, you're just going to first of all pin the neck areas together. Now on the edge part, that's the end part of your collar, the part that gets to the front part, you're going to be sandwiching that in between the neckline of the front piece, the neckline of your facing. Remember, we also have the facing that we've not stitched. So you're going to be sandwiching that other part of the collar. That's the edges of your collar in between these two parts, which I just mentioned. Ensure that you place them properly. So you're going to use the shoulder, that's the shoulder joining as your guide. Remember, the facing gets to the shoulder area. All right, so that's it. You're just going to place your collar in between. So you're going to place the two ends of your collar in between. Don't go and place one, okay? So just place both of them, and then you pin them together. Ensure that you're placing them properly. Ensure that you don't have any folds while you're placing them. If there's any folds, just go on to do that. Take your time to fix this, because the color of the shirt is like the main thing that makes the shirt beautiful. All right, so after doing it for this end, okay, after doing it here, I'll go on and repeat the same process for the other side of my neckline. So go ahead and sandwich your collar in between the neckline of the front and then the facing. Okay, that's the facing we're using. Align them properly, pin them down so that it stays in place and it is not moving, and it is easy for you to work with. So after placing them down, after pinning down, this is what I have it looking like. Now on that ends, where that sandwiching ends, where the facing ends, this area here, we're going to be making a cut at that end. So you're going to be making a cut of about half of an inch only on the top part of your collar. That's the part you did not pin down. Okay, that's where you're going to just make that knot, that cut. So you do it on both sides of where the interfacing ends. Okay, ensure that you just, of where your facing ends, ensure that you make that cut just half of an inch. Okay, so you can see this is what I have for mine. This is it. This is what it looks like. Now I'm going to take this over to the machine and I'll stitch it down by half of an inch. Then when I get to this point, I will just take it up like so, continue stitching down to the other end. So this is what it looks like after I finish stitching it down. I'm just going to take off the pins I have on this. So this is what we have after I finish stitching down. I'm going to just make notches around this. So your notches should not get to your stitch lines, okay? Ensure it doesn't get to your stitch lines. I'll just make my notches around this. And then after that, placing this down now, we're going to use the top part of the collar to cover the parts which we have our threads showing. Okay, so ensure you push out every end before you close that down, okay, so that you don't loosen that up. So you're going to fold in the part where you stitch in, ensure that it's inside so that it's hidden properly, and then you fold up this other part by half of an inch and then stitch it down to keep it in place. So this is what it looks like after I finish, and this is what it looks like at the back of this, looking nice, right? So the next thing we want to do now is this ends here, the remaining the facing parts where we have coming out, that's the rough edge. We're going to just fold that up and then use our hemming gum to keep that in place, or you can just stop stitch, but I prefer using hemming gum, and then doing that also to the other ends of our facing to make it relax. Okay, so I've done that. This is what it looks like, and this is what it looks like on the other end. Now, the next thing we want to work on is the sleeve. For this, I've gone ahead to just cut out a basic sleeve, and I folded the ends of my sleeve. So what I'll do is to just attach this to the armhole areas of my piece. So this is what it looks like after I finish doing that. Now we're going to flip this over to the wrong side. Okay, I want to align this properly, and then I'm going to pin it down on the sides. So I finished doing that. Now I want to create like a slit at the end of my shirt. So I'm going up from the ends by 5 inches. That is the point where I want my slit to start from. Considering the fact that I have not folded the ends, that's why I'm using 5 inches. So you can use more than 5 inches. So depending on the length of your shirt, okay. And I'm also marking that 5 inches to this point also. So I'll take this over to my machine now. I'm going to stitch it down by 1 inch and stop at that point, and do the same thing to the other end. So this is what it looks like after I finish. You can see the opening we have there. Okay, now to work on this opening, what we're going to do is just to fold up the rough edge. We're just going to fold in the tip part of this, fold up the rough edges. Use your hemming gum to just keep that in place. Okay, you're going to iron that and then ensure that it stays in place. So I finished doing that. This is what it looks like. Now we're going to stitch this. So you're going to go from the edge and then go to the point where the joining ends and then to the other end. Okay, so ensure you stitch that at the ends so that it just stays in place. And this is what it looks like after I finish doing that. Now the next thing we're doing is to fold up the edge of the ends of our shirt. So just go on and fold that in. So this is what it looks like after I finished folding. All right, so now the final thing for the shirt is the button. So to know how to place your button, you have to arrange your neckline properly. Okay, and then you remember the break point we have for our shirt is the chest area. So you're going to start placing your button at that point. So I'm just marking for mine. All right, and then from there I'll go on to take the measurements for the points I want to place my buttons. So this brings us to the end of the video. Thank you for watching. If you're here to the end of this tutorial and you're yet to subscribe to the channel, what are you waiting for? Please do well to subscribe. Turn on your notification bell so be notified whenever I post a new video. And please give this video a thumbs up. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next. Bye.